And today in Congress, they asked a simple question: what to do about crypto, which is a digital currency that, remember, was designed to live outside of government regulation. At least that was the idea when it first started. Today in Washington, a number of lawmakers seem to be intent on finding a way to regulate, but also maybe finding a way to fold it into financial markets.
How can you possibly have a well-regulated market in, say, Bitcoin futures when the majority of transactions in the underlying assets are fraudulent?
We don't trust our citizens. They can't do permissionless transactions. Everything's got to be permissioned. It seems like some of my colleagues actually think that's a good thing. I think it's kind of dystopian, personally.
We've all heard from firms like Coinbase that they will move offshore. The reality is that in this environment, it's hard to blame them.
And joining us now is Brendan Pedersen, financial services reporter for Punchbowl News and author of the new newsletter, The Vault. Brendan, big picture here. What did you take away from today's hearing?
Thanks, Gadi. Yeah, this is actually a pretty interesting hearing, all things equal, because in a lot of ways, the two parties, Republicans and Democrats, are trying to answer fundamentally different questions about what to do with crypto. Republicans are pretty bought in at this point in terms of they like crypto. They think it has transformative potential as far as finance goes. But when it comes to Democrats, they're a bit more suspect. Basically, since the collapse of FTX, that crypto exchange that was kind of the gold standard for the industry up until last fall when it collapsed in a storm of fraud. Democrats are trying to figure out whether or not it belongs in the financial system in the first place, crypto. Republicans are trying to figure out the best way to do it, period.
And do you think today's hearing brought us any closer to, like, crypto accountability?
That's a great question. I mean, you heard Congressman Bill Foster of Illinois ask some pretty tough questions about what exactly crypto is supposed to be used for and what we can do to, sort of work against some of the more like criminally adjacent elements of crypto, right? When you're talking about things like anonymous transactions, that's like common with you and I using cash. But when you're talking about digital payments on a global scale, that's really easy for international criminals to use to move money all over the place. And that's ultimately what policymakers are most concerned about. They want to crack down on money laundering. And crypto makes that kind of hard.
So money laundering, but also, do you think there's any agreement across the aisle on how to regulate crypto, or possibly some like low-hanging fruit on what should be regulated? I'm thinking the debate on something like wash rules.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, there's a really interesting divide within the Democratic Party right now on this. I think Republicans are pretty much on the same page. Democrats, especially senior Democrats, are extremely suspect when it comes to crypto. Younger Democrats, like Richie Torres of New York or Wiley Nickel of North Carolina, they're a bit more open to the potential for crypto. And so I think we might see some bipartisan action here. Patrick McHenry, the chair of the House Financial Services Committee, the Republican, he has said he wants a bipartisan bill, and he's probably going to get it if he works with Richie Torres or Congressman Nickel. But I think in general, if you're looking for broad buy-in from the most senior Democrats, it's going to be harder to find.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.